Hello everyone and welcome to Charge Chat. My name is Elizabeth.
I'm Chloe.
And today on the show we have someone super cool, Miss Emily. She works at the Marysville Performing Arts Center here in Marysville.
So good morning, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
So I guess we'll just start out with the basics. Just you personally and how long you have been dancing on your own.
I've been dancing for 23 years.
Wow.
Almost 24.
How old were you when you started dancing?
Oh, so now we get to know how old I am.
Yeah.
I was 6 when I started dancing.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you think when you were a lot younger, like, you know, when you want to be when you grow up, did you ever think, like, dance instructor would be something that you would want to do when you grow up, or did you just, like, enjoy dancing as a hobby?
I think when I was a teenager, I realized that most dance teachers don't get to work until about 4 p.m. And at that point, obviously, when you're getting up for school every day, you realize, hey, that would be a pretty sweet gig.
It's true. Yeah, I get that. So, when you were in college and you were there, did you go into there for a different profession, or did you think, like, I'm gonna go here, like, to get dance instructor?
I had no idea. I went to Western and I had no idea they had a dance program. I went in to get a teaching certificate for English to teach high school, which I do. And then the second day I was there, someone came up to me and said, hey, they recognized me from previous years of dance. Are you auditioning for the dance program tomorrow? And I said, what? Dance program? What? Auditions? I better go. And so just kind of fell into it.
Oh, that's so cool. Was there any inspiration behind you becoming a dance teacher? Like, besides that audition?
Probably that I actually started teaching when I was 16. They needed someone to teach some of the little kids, and I thought it would be fun. And as I was growing up, I thought dance teachers were always someone to look up to, and sometimes they were a challenge, but an inspiration also, and I love working with kids. But teaching high school, not everyone wants to read Shakespeare, but when kids come to dance class, those kids want to dance, and so it's really fun. It's a fun thing to do.
So as I'm actually in one of your enrolled in your dance classes, and I know that at Marysville Performing Arts Center, you guys teach a lot of different classes. So when you first started to dance yourself, was there like a type of dance that you like really enjoyed more than like anything else?
When I first started dancing, I was 6, so it was kind of whatever my mom put me in.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of years, I just did tap dance because that's what my sister did, big sister, and I thought, you know, I should do whatever she was doing. So it took a couple of years to break into the other styles.
Oh, so does your whole family do the dance thing?
My sister and I both teach dance, and growing up, my mom was definitely a dance mom, and she is now my office manager at the studio.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Did you ever think back then that you as a family would get to work together in like an environment like that?
Never. Never at all. When the opportunity arose for me to own Marysville Performing Arts Center, it was kind of a, are you going to jump in or not? Are you going to do it or not? And how is this going to work? And at the time, I think my mom would have loved a change in occupation. So her coming to work for me was kind of a blessing all around because she knows the dance biz, and I already know how to communicate with my office manager.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's important.
So, I personally love doing musical theater. Is there a dance style that maybe your sister did or your mom wanted to do that you like didn't really like, or was there something like that you kind of didn't really enjoy as much as the other ones?
You know, I actually, don't tell the dancers this, right? I actually didn't take ballet until I was 17. I took, I know, I took tap, jazz, modern hip hop, but I wouldn't take ballet because I couldn't envision wearing the tights and the leotard in like 80-degree weather in the spring and summer to dance in. So it wasn't until I really got pressured into it as an instructor that I should be taking ballet that I did. And after I did it, I was so happy I did. I thought it was going to be boring the classical music and everything all the time, but it turned out it was a real challenge. It was great.
So you mentioned like the costumes and like the tights and stuff. What would you say is your favorite like costume for the dance styles? Like, would you rather go into a ballet costume or a hip hop costume?
You know, not everyone feels this way, but anything with sequins. The sparklier the better. I probably didn't always feel that way, but after seeing so many different costumes on stage, you can use a tutu for anything. Musical theater, you could use a tutu under a nice dress, give you some swing. You could do it in jazz, something upbeat with Madonna. So the costuming doesn't really make that much of a difference, though there are costumes that are bad. So it just, for each style, you have to look at what's available.
What would you consider to be a bad costume?
For some reason, there are costumes that only have one legs. I think they market them towards ribbon dancing, which we do not teach at Marysville Performing Arts Center. Or there are costumes with just one wrap around the arm. Those are usually pretty bad. If you have a red, white, and blue spangled unitard, you're probably not doing too great.
Yeah, I can envision that. It's probably not as pretty as they want it to be.
I have no idea why.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk a little more about the Marysville Performing Arts Center as a whole. So we're gonna go to a dance battle.
He's so cute. I saw him first. I want him. There's only one way to say this. Dance battle.
What were you guys doing?
A dance battle. What does it look like, bro?
Oh, you think that's a dance battle? Watch this.
My name is Elizabeth,
I'm Chloe.
and we're back with Miss Emily, who is one of the main dance instructors at the Marysville Performing Arts Center.
So we're gonna get right back into the MPAC. So when did you start working there?
I started working there about 5 years ago. I worked there for a year before I started owning it.
Yeah, because I've heard a little bit of the history of MPAC, and I know there was a previous owner.
Yes.
So you worked for them too before you owned it yourself?
I sure did. They opened the studio in 2002, and I was still in high school then. And so I moved up this way about 5 years ago, and they, for personal reasons, they needed to move on. And instead of seeing the studio close, I thought, you know, keep the dance alive.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what do you think is one of your favorite parts of teaching at MPAC?
Probably being able to, since it's been 5 years now, watch the kids kind of grow up, and how far they can come in such a short period of time is always impressive and amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So do you have like a specific student that still sticks in your mind and you're like, I love that kid, I wish that kid would keep coming back? Do you have any like favorites?
Teachers never have favorites.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I did, there was one when I was just out of college, I had a student who really inspired me. She started dancing late, and she didn't it didn't come easy to her, but she worked really hard. She came every day, multiple styles of dance, because it's something she loved and a passion she wanted to pursue. And for her senior project, she wrote a book and she published it, and she dedicated it to me as a surprise at the end of the year.
Oh
And
my
she
gosh.
always sticks out in my mind whenever I think of like amazing things kids have done. It was an honor.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good friends with some of the people also doing dance classes at MPAC, and I remember seeing a production of the Nutcracker last year.
Yes.
So do you think you enjoy doing like just recitals with all your dance classes more, or do you think you enjoy doing like shows like the Nutcracker where it's like full out like dancing and ballet and like all of the things?
I enjoy doing those shows when they're done. There's so much work that goes into them behind the scenes that people never see, that it can be a little inundating. Seeing the final project is always rewarding. Like I know you were both in Mary Poppins. The final product is rewarding, but working up to it, you're always a little, what's going to happen? How's this going to come together? And it always does.
Yeah. As better kids, we can understand that, definitely. So, we talked a little bit about your favorite part about teaching at MPAC, but what is one of your like least favorite parts of teaching there?
Having to explain things that seem really odd to people who maybe don't dance as often or are new to the studio, that seems so normal to us as dancers. Trying to convince kids that they don't want their underwear hanging out of their costume on stage at recital, and how they deal with that so that they don't get embarrassed later. Those are always strange conversations to have with parents.
Yeah.
I would assume so.
So, I know as we talked about, there's very many different dance styles. So we talked a little bit about your favorite dance style to dance yourself, but is there one that you love to teach, like either kids or maybe teenagers, that like just whenever you have that class, you're just really excited to like teach them like new things?
I think probably my favorite to teach is this year is jazz. Sometimes I would say another style of dance, but my jazz class this year, it's pretty big, and they're fun to kind of rock out with, and then to work with. They've all been working so hard. It kind of depends on who's in the class, because you might love to teach this style, but the kids in it this year maybe are not as devoted or something. But man, my jazz class this year, they are rocking it. They're gonna be amazing.
So would you say you like to teach a smaller class more or a larger class?
Oh, bigger is better, because when there's more kids, they kind of like pump each other up, and there's more of an opportunity to see this kid's doing this great. I want to work on that. This kid's doing that great. I want to work on that. So they kind of inspire each other. And when there aren't as many, it's a little harder to do that. But you get to know them better. So it's give and take.
So every year you have a recital with every day single dance class. Is there maybe one routine, maybe 1 year in a recital that like you were like, oh, that was so good, like the costumes were great, the dance style was great, like they did great? Is it one routine that you remember specifically from past years?
That is a great question. The first one that comes to mind is a tap routine we did probably 3 years ago. There was only 4 girls in the class, but they were all 17 and 18 at the time, so they'd all had a lot of experience. Their costumes were 40s style dresses that they had like a petticoat under them, so they were really flowy. It was really cute, and that dance was so hard, and they did so good. It was amazing.
So you mentioned that they were around like 17, 18. What would you say is your favorite age group to teach?
I love to teach all the age groups. They're different though. Sometimes when you're teaching 5 and 6 year olds, you're teaching them how to stand in line, and they're cute and they're adorable and don't punch each other and don't pick your nose. And then on top of that, you're also, here's how you do a plie. So they bring their own challenges. I think teaching the older kids is often more interesting, because once you hit middle school, you have to make a decision. Am I going to do track or am I going to do dance? And you can do both, but it gets complicated. So by the time you're in middle school or high school, you've made a decision, and you've usually had a little more experience, so you can start like really pushing them and really seeing them excel, where before they were just kind of like, my mom signed me up for dance class. So there's definitely a difference, and it's the older kids, they're a little more fun, maybe.
Yeah, I understand that.
So how long is a typical dance class? How long does it last?
At Marysville Performing Arts Center, usually an hour. Some of the more advanced levels, maybe an hour and a half.
How many months do you practice? So it's usually like once a week. How many months do you do that for?
A lot of kids come once a week. Kids who are maybe trying to pursue dance or have just said, hey, this is my thing, they might come 3 or 4 days a week. And our normal program follows the school year, so September through June. We do have a summer program that goes for about 2 months. And then our charity dance program are free classes that lead up to our charity show. Those kind of are random. I think this year they'll be starting in August or September.
Nice. So what is the charity show?
That is one of my favorite questions. We do a program called Charity Dance Program, and it is free classes that choreographers are donating their time to teach choreography for. We have open auditions for them. You don't have to be a dancer at our studio to be in the show. Anyone can come. And then every year we choose a different charity organization to donate the funds of that show to. So everything is donated, the studio space, the choreographers. We do pay for a theater rental, so we have that cost to deal with. But then the ticket sales, we have a silent auction, all that money ends up going to a charity. Our show this year was about a week ago, and we are, I think, we're around $900 to $1,000 we get to donate to melanoma research this year.
Whoa, awesome. That's just that's awesome, honestly. So there's different styles of dance, obviously, but there's also different dance moves that are also really fun to learn and to teach. What do you think is your favorite move to teach either young kids or teenagers to like know how to do, maybe in a routine or something?
Awesome question. Probably anything that I personally think is hard is a favorite of mine. So a move my jazz class is working on, they're working really hard again, is barrel rolls. So jumping off the ground while spinning and trying to tilt yourself backwards a little is always, it's entertaining to teach and it's entertaining to watch the experience grow.
Yeah, I can see that. So we're just going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk a little more to Miss Emily, and as we're taking a break, we're going to look at the difference between your best friend and just a friend.
I don't know about my outfit today. Like, is my shirt okay? Like, does it look fine? I love your shirt. It looks really good. Great. I feel like my outfit today sucks. Like, is this shirt okay? Like, I mean, does it look good on me? Like, well, it's slightly baggy and the shades of black are kind of clashing. Did I tell you? Oh my gosh. Josh wanted to hang out with me today. Do you think I should? I feel like I should. Risk it for the biscuit. Go for it. Attack him. Do it. Oh my gosh. Josh just texted me. He says he wants to hang out with me soon. That douchebag, he stood you up last time. Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh, are you okay? Ow, my arm. Yeah, I'm good. This thing happened today, I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh, ow. You fell at school. Bro, got here as soon as I could. Tell me everything.
Back to Try to Chat. My name is Elizabeth, and this is my co-host Chloe. And we're back with Miss Emily, who is the main dance instructor at Marysville Performing Arts Center. So as we know, you've been working there for 5 years now, as you said. So, as a dancer for so long and also being a dance teacher, do you have any good stories or funny stories that you remember from like dancing or teaching kids how to dance?
Funny stories. I think probably the funniest thing, without pointing out any of the kids, is dance teachers are expected to be really, really coordinated and have body awareness, and we're usually the first ones to fall down. Partially because we're willing to like, hey, I think I can do that, and just go for it, but also because we're so used to having choreography and knowing where our space is gonna be that if you like stick us in heels and tell us to walk upstairs, it might not work. So probably the irony there is that the only time we've had anyone break a bone at MPAC, I should knock on wood soon, was a teacher. She did a jump and broke her foot while teaching. And I've seen so many of us walk into things or bump into students that, I wonder why people pay me to teach their kids how to move. Totally kidding.
That's awesome. So, I know you have specific MPAC recitals,
Mhm.
but have you ever had a dance group, or have you ever danced in like a competition or anything more than just like recitals?
I personally don't like competition dancing. It requires a different focus. There's usually, and so to answer that question, yes, we went to competitions as kids. So I did have that insight into it, but there's usually, you're trying to please a judge. You're not necessarily working on your own creative exploits or being innovative. You're trying to stick these moves into a routine in this amount of time to a song they're going to like. So competition's not really our thing. We do, the charity show is a separate group that works with MPAC. I just happen to be in both of them. So that's exciting to be able to do something that's more for, I guess, the art of it.
Yeah.
Whereas our recital and our winter show are totally just to have fun with the kids. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then in college, I got to perform with Western, and that was fun.
Cool. So, I mean, there's got to be a lot of things into going into choreographing a dance.
Yes.
Do you personally like to come up with the moves yourself, or do you like come in a group and you work it out together, or what's your process into choreographing a dance?
When I was younger, I would have said that I liked to go and learn the moves or work with a group or something. That is I didn't know at the time it's a skill. It's a skill to pick up those moves. And now choreographing just comes so naturally to me that I can just sit down and I can choreograph on the spot when I need to. Not that I often do, but I do often do that. Just choreograph on the spot. And that's easy for me. But I recently was trying to pick up someone else's choreography, and I didn't realize how hard that is. It's not like riding a bike. You don't remember how. So they're two totally different skills to have.
Yeah.
So you're more into choreographing by yourself then?
I think
Yeah.
so. Choreographing in a group is kind of like doing a group project. and so that's a lot harder. You usually end up dividing up work. You're going to do these 5 counts of 8, you're going to do these 5 counts of 8. Otherwise you'd just be arguing all day. There's too many dance moves to pick from.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, there's got to be pros and cons, of course, to choreographing something. So, what is one of your least favorite things about choreographing a dance?
Least favorite? When you have little kids, you can repeat sections, and an audience will usually, most people in an audience are not dancers, or they'd be on the stage. And usually you can repeat things, they'll notice, oh, you did that move before, and they start catching it, like, oh, that's interesting, because they start to recognize it. So one of my least favorite things is probably trying to repeat moves that people will notice and draw the audience in, but without the dance getting stale or boring.
So for different groups of songs, like I know I've heard people using like Michael Bublé songs in the past or Imagine Dragons in the past. Like, is there like a type of song that you like to use for a certain dance class? Like, does it depend on like the beat, or do you just like that song and you just want to choreograph a dance for it? Like, what goes into picking a song for your group to do in a recital?
Sometimes it's knowing the kids. So sometimes I do maybe pick songs I know the kids are going to be interested in. I also, if it can be funny, it's better. But I do have a bad penchant. I noticed pretty much every year since I started teaching, there is a Madonna or a Michael Jackson song in recital that's my fault. So I've noticed that I do that, but it's not necessarily on purpose. They're icons, and they both have such great beats that you could do almost any style of dance to one of their songs.
So you'd say that usually like more popular like songs is what you gravitate towards when picking songs, like stuff like Madonna and Michael Jackson, more than maybe something that's lesser known?
I think cross-generational songs for a student recital are the best, because the kids are maybe going to probably know it. You know who Michael Jackson is. Your parents are going to notice it, so it'll get their attention. I do when we're doing the charity show, and if I'm looking for something a little artsier, I will find the most obscure song possible, or a song that just has sounds in it to dance to, and just see where that takes me. But with a recital with the kids program, it's best to, draw the audience in with some of those popular songs, or like a good oldies.
Yeah, I can see that.
So do you pick the song before you start choreographing the dance?
Oh yes, always. And usually I pick the song and start choreographing before I pick a costume, but I have totally been inspired by costumes before. Like, hey, there's a Wizard of Oz costume in this book. I should probably do a Wizard of Oz dance this year.
That's awesome, yeah. So, is there any old dance styles that you wish you could teach but you don't anymore at MPAC? Like, is there one that you're like, oh, I wish maybe some kids would maybe sign up for this so I can teach it again, or something like that?
The classes I feel that way about are the classes that help with the dance styles but aren't necessarily a dance style. I wish kids would sign up for stretch and strength so that they could be more flexible. I wish they would sign up for turns and leaps so we could spend an hour focusing on turns that you maybe only spend 5 minutes in class working on. That would be my preference. But the styles that we have are pretty comprehensive. I will say I maybe am getting old, obviously, and I don't teach hip hop anymore because I didn't stay up. You have to stay so current with hip hop. It's constantly changing. Ballet's been ballet for hundreds of years, but I don't teach hip hop anymore, and I kind of miss that.
All right, so we're going to take our final segment change, and we're going to come back with Miss Emily, and so we're just going to look at a quick funny video about a belly button.
There's this hole in my stomach, guys.
Oh my god, are you okay? Wait, why is there a hole?
I don't
Take it to the
know.
hospital if you want.
I might have to go. I don't even know. I've never seen it before.
What does it look like? I mean,
It's
is it big? Like
No,
big?
it's smaller, but it's there. It's just, I've heard like urban legends online, and apparently things like this can like eat you. Like it eats
Eat
your body.
you?
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. We can figure this out. Let's just see what's going on, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's get it.
I don't know what it is. I'm just You guys. I don't know where it came from. It's just I've never seen it before.
Get your attention.
I don't know what it is. So like, guys,
It's a belly button.
What's that? You guys are literally born with it. See, even I have one. I have one here.
oh my god! We have to bring her to the hospital now.
It's gonna eat you.
It's gonna eat you alive. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm done. I can't.
All All right, welcome back to Charge It Chat, everyone. My name is Elizabeth.
My name is Chloe, and we're back with Miss Emily.
So just right before we end the show, is there any final words that you have, maybe just for people who are like, oh, I wish I could dance, but like don't because they think they won't be good at it, or just any words of encouragement for people like that?
You know, we are registering for our summer program right now, and a lot of our regular dancers don't take summer classes, though they should. But that's a great time for newcomers to come in and try a couple styles out and see what they like. And, you know, the charity auditions will be in August or September this year. People should like us on Facebook, MPAC Dance or Marysville Performing Arts Center. Both those Facebooks are good. And we'll announce when those auditions are. They're open auditions. If you come, we're going to try and get you out on that stage somehow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and letting us talk to you. So this has been Charge It Chat. My name is Chloe. This is Elizabeth, and this was Miss Emily.
Thank you for watching, everyone.